Once upon a time, in a quiet kingdom surrounded by rolling green hills and sparkling rivers, there lived a young girl whose story would be remembered for generations. Her name was Cinderella, name given to her not by love, but by cruelty. Yet behind that name lived a heart filled with kindness, patience, and unwavering hope. Before sorrow entered her life, Cinderella was a happy child. She lived with her father, a gentle man who loved her dearly. He always told her, "Cinderella, my little star, no matter what happens, always choose kindness." Her mother had passed away when she was very young, but her memory lived on in every song Cinderella sang and every flower she planted. For years, father and daughter lived peacefully, their days filled with simple joys. But that peace was about to be shattered. Her father remarried, hoping to bring a new mother into Cinderella's life. Cinderella's new stepmother arrived with her two daughters, Anastasia and Drizella. From the very first day, jealousy poisoned the air. The stepmother saw Cinderella's grace and beauty not as a gift, but as a threat. She was a cold, practical woman who believed dreams were useless. Not long after she arrived, tragedy struck again. Cinderella's father fell ill and passed away, leaving her utterly alone in a house that no longer felt like home. With him gone, the stepmother revealed her true, cruel nature. Overnight, Cinderella's life changed. She was stripped of her fine clothes and given rags to wear. She was forced to sleep by the fireplace in the kitchen, where the cinders and ash would cover her clothes and skin, earning her the cruel nickname Cinderella. Her days became an endless cycle of chores, starting long before sunrise. The floors had to shine, the laundry had to be spotless, and the meals had to be perfect. Yet, despite the constant cruelty and exhaustion, Cinderella never argued. She found comfort in small things, whispering songs to the birds and mice who became her only friends. One day, the sound of royal trumpets echoed through the village. A messenger announced a grand royal ball at the palace. The prince was looking for a bride, and every young lady in the kingdom was invited to attend. The house buzzed with excitement for the stepsisters, at least. Amidst their chatter about gowns and jewels, Cinderella softly asked if she could go too. The stepmother, with a wicked smile, agreed, but only if Cinderella could finish an impossible list of chores before sunset. It was a promise designed to be broken. Cinderella worked harder than she ever had before. She scrubbed, polished, and sewed with a sliver of hope in her heart. But just as she finished the very last task, she looked out the window and saw the sun disappear behind the hills. Her one chance was gone. She ran to the garden, her shoulders shaking with sobs. She had believed, just for a moment, that something good could happen. As her tears fell onto the soil, a warm, glowing light began to surround her. It was her fairy godmother. "Why do you cry, child of kindness?" she asked gently. Cinderella explained her broken dream, how she only wanted one night to feel special. With a wave of her wand, the fairy godmother filled the garden with magic. A simple pumpkin swelled into a magnificent golden carriage, the little mice transformed into proud white horses, and Cinderella's rags dissolved into a breathtaking gown. Shimmering brighter than moonlight, on her feet appeared a pair of delicate glass slippers. But the magic came with a warning. "Remember," the fairy godmother said, "when the clock strikes midnight, the spell will break." Cinderella arrived at the palace, which was alive with music and laughter. As she stepped into the ballroom, a hush fell over the crowd. Everyone stared, captivated by her grace and beauty. The prince himself was amazed. He walked directly to her abode and asked for a dance. For the rest of the evening, they were inseparable. They danced under the sparkling chandeliers, laughing and talking as if they were the only two people in the world. It was a dream come true. But then bong, the deep, resonating sound of the clock tower began to strike midnight. Reality crashed back in. "I must go," Cinderella cried, pulling away from the prince. She fled from the ballroom and down the grand palace steps, so quickly that she left one of her glass slippers behind. The prince was heartbroken but determined. He picked up the delicate slipper and vowed to find the mysterious woman who had captured his heart. He declared he would marry the girl whose foot fit this slipper perfectly. The search began immediately, with the Grand Duke visiting every house in the kingdom, carrying the glass slipper on a velvet pillow. When the Duke arrived at Cinderella's house, the stepsisters tried desperately to squeeze their feet into the tiny slipper, but it was no use. The prince, who had accompanied his duke, looked around. "Is there no one else in this house?" he asked. The stepmother quickly said no, but just then Cinderella appeared at the top of the stairs. The stepmother tried to send her away, but the prince insisted she try. Of course, the slipper fit perfectly. And to erase any doubt, Cinderella pulled the matching slipper from her pocket. In that moment of triumph, Cinderella could have chosen revenge. She could have exposed all the cruelty she had endured. Instead, she looked at her stepmother and stepsisters and said, "I forgive you." Her capacity for kindness, even after so much suffering, shocked them all. Cinderella married the prince in a joyous celebration that lasted for days. She became a beloved queen, known throughout the land for her compassion and wisdom. As the prince often told her, her heart was her greatest magic. And so, Cinderella's story reminds us that even in the darkest of times, a heart filled with kindness, patience, and hope holds the power to create its own happily ever after. Thank you for watching.